Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we have the Wild West palette from Urban Decay. I just got this one in PR and I wanted to film with it as fast as I could. So today we're going to be doing a couple of different looks. I'm going to do 2 different looks with this and see what we think of the formula, the palette. I'll do swatches and everything, so why don't we go ahead and get started. Okay, so this did just arrive from Urban Decay. It is their Wild West palette. I was really excited when I seen this one releasing. This palette just screams me, like my vibes. I'm into the color story. I'm into it. I love this like play on the more grungier, I don't know, I just like love something about this tones. I love that there's a blue, still have those neutrals in there which are true to the Naked family, but I'm into this. I love the packaging on it. It's very sleek. It has like this snake skin packaging, have the Wild West there. It comes with a brush, which I also like their brushes as well. This is their standard Naked packaging. You do get the mirror on the top. Like I said, you get the brush, and then it also has 12 different shades inside. I know I was seeing a mixed reaction on this one. I think a lot of people were excited for the color story, but then a lot of people didn't think it went with the Naked family, and they didn't think it was like neutral enough to be considered one of the Naked palettes. But I think they're kind of moving in a direction where they want to like introduce more colors. So we had like the ultraviolet palette last, and now I feel like this is kind of just introducing a lot more color because there's a lot more going on in this palette in particular than in other Naked palettes in the past. Here are swatches of the palette. Swatch wise, they look beautiful. Swatched really well. Sometimes Urban Decay's mattes can be a little bit more on the sheer side, which for me personally I don't always love, but then sometimes I do like that because I feel like they're a lot easier to build up, not as hard to like go in with like a harsh look off the bat. It's like you have to kind of work at them a little bit, but swatch wise they look really pigmented. They look nice. The shimmers look absolutely beautiful, so I'm excited to try this out on the eyes. As you can tell, I actually already have my makeup on. I've been filming all day today, but I got this in PR and I was like, I need to film with it, so I wanted to do a look for you, and I wanted to give this up as well. As I'm filming this, this palette just went live, so you guys can shop it. I'll have the link down below, but I wanted to get this up as quickly as I could because I know a lot of you have been interested in this one. So I'm going to try to do my best to do my makeup with mascara on because I didn't want to take everything off because I wanted to get this up, like I said, as fast as I could. So we're going to do 2 different eye looks. I'll do one on each eye so we can just kind of try out the most shades that we can. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I am going to be using the brush that it comes with, and I think for the 2 looks, I'll kind of tell you guys what I'm thinking. I want to do one silver, this as the lid shade, and then I also want to do one with this blue shade. So I think for the silver look, I'm going to kind of play more over here, and then for the blue, I'm going to play more on this side. So just so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm thinking. So first I'm going to go into the shape right here called Nudie, and I'm going to place that on my eye. So I am going to grab this side of the brush. This one is more of a crease brush. I already have a little bit of concealer down on my eye as well as some powder. So just so you guys know. And doing my eyeshadow with mascara on, honestly, just kind of reminds me of like when I had the eyelash extensions. That was something I had when I was pregnant with my son Rowan. So I feel like I kind of got used to doing them that way. And then obviously when they're off, it's nice, but I feel like you could do eyeshadow with mascara on. So that shade actually looks really nice. I'm going to go ahead and build it up a tiny bit more. I'm going to go into the shade Lorado right here. This one, I love this color. This taupe shade kind of reminds me of a shade that is in the Naked 2 palette that I absolutely love. So for this, I'm going to kind of just tap it really quickly and then begin to blend it. As you can see, this is kind of what I was talking about with the Naked palettes. They're definitely a very soft type of formula. Like you're not going to go overboard too quickly. You're definitely going to be able to like build your shades up. So I know a lot of people either love or hate Urban Decay's formula. I kind of fall in between. Like I like their mattes a lot, but a lot of times, especially in these Naked palettes, I am left feeling a little bit let down with the shimmers. It's going to come to personal preference, but for me, the shimmers are normally a little lackluster. So we'll see how they are in this palette, but that's kind of normally where I'm at. But so far, these 2 shades together looking very nice. I'm loving how they're blending and no issues here so far. Honestly, that on the crease would be such a pretty just like matte, easy look, but I am going to deepen it up a tiny bit more. I told you I was going to stay on this side, but I'm going to go into the shade Pony Up right here at the end and apply a little bit of this, just the smallest amount to the outer corner here, just to deepen it up a little bit. And I'm kind of just tapping that and then starting to blend it. I'm still just working on the crease side, and I'll kind of just blend that out a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to keep it out over here though. And now we're going to go in with the silver. So they do have a shader brush. I already know I'm going to use my finger because like I told you, feel like these are normally a little lackluster, and I feel like when you use your finger, you do get the most color payoff. So I'm going to use the shade. It's called Cowboy Rick. It is the silver in the palette. And I'm going to go ahead and tap this on my lid. So this is pretty much a typical Urban Decay formula. It's a little bit dry, and this is why I say kind of like these palettes, you kind of just have to know what to expect. It's the same thing with the ultraviolet. Like the shades were just a little bit powdery. They're just not as like buttery as what you're used to. So if you're used to like a ColourPop formula and you dip in and you're like, oh, the shimmer, like they're just so buttery. But when you dip into these, their formula is just a little bit more dry. So I mean, it always ends up looking pretty on the lid. Like I never have any complaints with their formula. It's just a matter of, you know, knowing what you're getting. But that right there actually looks super gorgeous. I love the way that eye look looks. It has dimension, but it's also like not too intense. I feel like that would be like work appropriate if you were headed into work. Definitely more of a neutral look. I know a lot of people were like, could you still do everyday neutral looks with this? I think this one looks really pretty, very neutral. So I'm going to actually add a little on the lower lash line. I'm going to go into that middle shade right here and add a little bit of that just right here on the lower lash to kind of connect the two. Okay, so there is our first eye. Again, really nice, like it. Shimmers, just know what you're getting, but they do look pretty on the eyes. I like the way that looks. And then we're gonna go into the more grungier side and do like the blue over here. So for this, I'm gonna actually start with the shade Whiskey right here, which is a little bit deeper than I normally do for a first shade, but we're gonna make it work. They do have quite a bit of fallout. You guys keep seeing me like tapping. You kind of want to do that with these shadows, kind of just tap your brush out first. So with this one, I'm gonna kind of tap it and then start to blend it out here. Because this is a much deeper shade, you really want to take your time blending it. Sometimes these are a little bit harder to blend, but with my experience with their shadows, they're normally not too tough. So I'm kind of just wiggling, working in circular motions to just blend this completely. That actually has a lot of depth to it. I really like that shade. Okay, next we're going to move into the shade Ghost Town right here. This one is more of like a burnt orange shade. And just to further deepen this up a little bit, add a little more dimension, I'm going to tap this in and begin to blend. I am not experiencing any fallout too. I do want to mention that. I don't see anything on my face, so that is good. And then next I'm going to move into the shade, I want to use the shade Pony Up again, but I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go into the shade Text, which I'm excited about this one. It's kind of like a navy blue shade, but it has a little bit more depth to it. So we'll see how it layers. Oh wow. Okay, that was pretty pigmented. I wasn't expecting it to be that pigmented. Actually, as I'm sitting here, I am like wanting to share a palette with you guys that when I got this, I was like, wait, I feel like I just used these colors. I'm sorry I'm stopping midway, but I wanted to show this to you guys. So this is from PIXI, and this is the Tina Young palette. Okay, tell me this is not very similar. So here is the PIXI palette, and then here is the Urban Decay one. So it's not identical, but look at the shades. Like you have that fun blue in here, you have that navy shade, you have that deeper taupe shade, you have all the neutrals plus some, and it just has a lot of similarities. So I wanted to mention that in case you were looking for a more affordable option. This one from PIXI, again, is the Tina Young palette. It's the Tones and Textured Feeling Fresh palette. So I'll link this down below as well. I will say that PIXI's formula isn't like my absolute favorite. If I were choosing between the two, I would prefer the Urban Decay because I feel like it's a little bit more pigmented and you don't have to work as much. And the shimmers are even nicer in this palette, but I mean, you get more colors in this one, and it is a similar color story. So if you're liking this color story, but you don't want to pay the price tag, I did want to mention that for you guys. So let's keep it going. I'm going to go back into that shade Text, and I'm just going to add a little bit more of that and just deepen it up a teensy bit more. This is getting like pretty dark over here. I wasn't expecting it to get that deep. I'm actually going to grab another blending brush really quick and kind of just work over this. I think I went a little higher than I was hoping to go, but it's okay. We'll make it work. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the shade Bud right here in the middle. This is the blue shade. I'm so excited to get this on the lid, and I'm going to tap this right over top. That is really pretty. Again, it's more of that drier formula, so I'm going to have to kind of build it up a little bit here. But definitely has dimension. I don't feel like it's too flat. I don't know, it looks pretty. Like, okay, even there, it doesn't look as dry as it feels. Like when you're putting it on, you're touching it, it feels like it's not going to be as pigmented as it does look on the eye. I will say I like this formula almost a little bit more than the Ultraviolet, because I feel like that one was a little bit too dry for me. Like I used it quite a few times. I liked the looks I came up with, but I wasn't like super blown away with how the shimmers looked on the lid. But I do think these look a little bit more foiled in my opinion. I don't know, it could just be in my head, but it's been a minute since I actually grabbed that palette, but I kind of feel like they still look pretty pigmented. I'm actually going into the shade Pony Up and also the shade Laurel right there in the middle for lower lash on this side, kind of just working that in. But so far, I'm impressed. I like both of these eye looks. They're so different. Like this one is definitely more like softer, lifted, and then this one you kind of have more of like that smoky, dramatic blue moment. For inner corner on this side, I actually want to take a little bit of the shade Cowboy Rick. I am going to grab the brush for this and wipe off the side that I used and grab a little bit of that for the inner corner on this side. See if we can't put a tiny bit of that. Yeah, I feel like the brush just doesn't really pick up these. Like if you're wanting to get the most payoff, definitely go in with your finger for sure. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that silver, do the same thing on this side. Add a little bit to the inner corner, but both eyes I feel like look really nice. I'm into this. So we used a majority of the shades. The only shades I didn't use were the shade Spur and also Standoff. And then I didn't use the shade Wrestler. So I didn't use these two first shades, but I feel like those are pretty, you know, basic. And then I didn't use the copper shade here, Wrestler. So that one I did not use, but it looks really pretty. So I'm excited to try that one out on the lid. But okay, let's get into my final thoughts. I know this is going to be like a quicker review, but I did want to just kind of get to the point, and since I already had the rest of my makeup done, it was kind of easy to just go in and do these looks. So final thoughts, using all the colors, I do think this is a nice palette. I like the color story. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. I think it's different. I know I'm sure these colors 10 times over, but for me, I like having the option of having them all in one palette. I think it's fun. I love my blues. I love these like orangey, grungier shades. I think they're really cool, but I also love that you have those more neutral shades if you wanted to stay in the neutral area with this eye over here. So cute. I liked the brush. I liked everything about this palette. I will say that, of course, it's not my favorite formula. I know I've mentioned that before, but I don't think you'll be mad if you get this palette. I think you can create some nice, fun looks. I just think know what you're getting, know what the shimmers are going to be like. Mattes are always great. Love the mattes in here, but yeah, I just wanted to say that about the shimmer. So also I'm going to check out, also I'll link this PIXI palette too down below in case you guys want to check that one out. But I hope you found this review helpful. Again, I'll link the palette down below for you. I hope that you guys will subscribe as well before you go, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.